Welcome to the Shekina Meditation Podcast, created by Shekina community members. Shekina communities are dedicated to creating free devotional spaces of Christian practice for spiritual seekers and travelers around the world. We post Christ-centered guided meditation each week to help you in your personal or small group practice. You can find episode show notes and other information at shekinacommunity.com.
Hello, this is Ro.
This is Ray.
And it's episode 77 of the podcast.
It's Friday the 12th of June as we record this, and we're sitting in the sala just after finishing the meditation that you're about to hear.
It's a lovely circle this morning. We've got beautiful overcast skies, and it's nice and warm, and it was really lovely to sit with a few friends and meditate today.
Yeah, it was amazing. Felt like a real, just like a good morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed it, so I think you're going to enjoy it too. Listeners, this podcast is supported by you. Because the podcast is about meditation, we want to keep it ad-free. Our beloved patrons at patreon.com, that's patreon.com, support us for as little as $1 a month. You can find us at patreon.com/Shekina Meditation Podcast. Shekina is spelt with no H on the end, and then it's just Meditation Podcast. You can find that link on our website. And another way you can support us is by rating or reviewing us on iTunes. You can email the podcast to a friend, or you could make some postcards and hand them out.
Heck yeah, why not? I like that idea.
You don't even have to make them super special. You could just write the words Shekina Meditation Podcast on them.
Have you listened to
Yes.
Shekina Meditation Podcast?
Yeah, like missing you, listening to the Shekina Meditation Podcast.
It could work.
It's like the new kind of travel.
I would listen to something if I found a postcard like that.
Did you have postcard racks in coffee shops growing
Yes.
up? Oh.
Free ones?
Yes.
With wacky advertising
Yes.
or like funny jokes, like strange things.
I used to think those were the coolest
Absolutely.
ever.
I used to cut them up and collage with them.
Totally. I think we were the same person growing up. That's how we found each
I
other.
forgot about those free postcard things. The best. So supporting this podcast helps to keep Shekina communities running and free for travelers and spiritual seekers. And it also helps us know that you appreciate what we're doing in putting this podcast into the world. Patrons, we love you. Thank you so much for supporting.
Really, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're like a flock of butterflies.
Yeah, they've just started to come out here.
Yeah, they're stunning.
They're stunning. And if you walk by a flower bush, you might be greeted by a lot of soft little butterflies flying out toward your face.
So lovely.
It's lovely. That's what you're like. So how has your week been, Ro?
Well, it's been pretty great. Something that we did this week was make a little roof on an extension of the workshop. So we've got a lot of like gardening gear and even things like hay or things that we want to use in the garden but need to really be kept out of the sun and the rain. So we've just made like a little roof on the side of the workshop. So it doesn't have walls, but it's just a little dry space to keep stuff. So we ordinarily for those roofing jobs, we'd get in some workers to help, but we just had some leftover roofing material and we thought we'd just give it a shot. So a few of us just got in there and did it, and it was really fun and it looked really good.
Nice.
Just did it all in one day. So that was a good, satisfying sort of feeling.
We're just getting ready to have some people re-roof our largest structure too, which is pretty big. It's pretty big, and it's going to have a shaggy grass hat on soon.
Yep.
So that's fun. I worked on my book. World Whisperer 5. I went away for a few days to try to get a whole bunch of editing done. And I did. I got a lot done.
Excellent. And
I have more to do, but it was good. It was really nice. I feel like it might have been the first time I've been alone since October.
Whoa. Yep, that's a long while.
So it was nice.
That would have felt good.
Yeah, it was really good.
And we look forward to reading the next one.
Oh, I'm so excited
Coming out
to get it
soon.
out. I'm so excited.
Do you have a date in mind yet?
In July.
Excellent.
Some point in July. But I need to finish the edit and get the cover done. So
Yeah.
those are the things.
We'll keep you up to date, dear listeners, when this next fantastic World Whisperer novel is coming out.
So today's episode is guided by Ro, and it's an imagination meditation on the story from Jesus, who is my neighbor. And it is from Luke 10, verses 25 to 37. And yeah, we recorded it here today.
Right
in
here.
Pai, Thailand. And the meditation will have 3 parts as usual, but I'm not going to elaborate on those parts because Ro does it in her introduction, which is coming up right away. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Let's begin. Well, welcome to Shekina Garden for meditation this morning. So nice to have you beautiful people here. And really lovely to be able to sit together and spend some time just coming to ourselves. I'm going to have a story meditation this morning. It's actually a story within a story, so that's double the story. So our meditation will have 3 parts this morning. I'll guide us in some mindfulness just to come a little bit calm down and relax and be present to ourselves. And then I'm going to read through a story from the life of Jesus, and he actually tells a story in this story. And I'm just going to guide us into imagining ourselves in that setting and being there and listening to it, and imagining all the different things that there are to imagine. And then we'll have the opportunity to pass our talking stick and share of our experience if we would like to at the end. So to begin, let's just find a comfortable position. There's no rules about staying perfectly still or anything like that. But to begin, let's just find something that's nice and strong. Position where we can breathe nice and easily. So you might like to roll your shoulders a few times up to the ears, down. Maybe take a few nice deep breaths deep into the belly. Feeling the mat underneath you and rising up nice and tall. And let's just allow our attention to come to our breath to begin with. Not changing how we breathe, but just breathing comfortably and noticing what happens as we breathe. Noticing the movement in our body. Noticing the rhythm of the breath. How we inhale and exhale. And there's a little pause, and then we inhale again. We might notice the feeling of the air in our nostrils. We might notice the feeling of the air as we exhale, the feeling of it on our upper lip or underneath our nose. We might even notice the temperature change, the feeling of the air coming in a little cooler And then as we exhale, perhaps noticing it's a little warmer. Letting our attention move to other sensations in our body now. Perhaps noticing the feeling of air on our skin. Noticing the feeling of our clothes against our body. Or the parts of our body that meet the mat or that touch each other. All the different sensations we can notice. Just passing from one to the next, to the next. Maybe also noticing any parts of our body that might be a little stiff or sore. Any tightness or pain, just noticing those things. If it's possible, by shifting a little or stretching to get a little bit more comfortable, please feel free to do that. Or perhaps imagine sending your breath to that part of your body that might be a bit sore. Perhaps trying to release it just a little if that's possible today. Turning our attention now to our sense of sound, of hearing. Noticing all the different sounds around us. Natural sounds, sounds made by humans. Just in your mind's eye, moving from sound to sound, perhaps imagining what it is that's making the noise, the sound that you can hear. And then gently moving on to the next one. Perhaps see if you can find the farthest sound, the sound that's the farthest away from us. And then coming in close, finding the closest sound to you. And beginning to turn our attention inward as our body is still and quiet. We can notice that what's happening inside might not be so still or quiet. We're going to turn our attention to our thoughts. Just noticing the thoughts that are coming into our mind. All different sorts of things. Lists, things to do, worries, memories, conversations we've had, all different sorts of things. We might perhaps like to imagine that we're sitting somewhere comfortable looking up into the sky and that our thoughts are like clouds that come along and we can notice them and sort of observe them from a little bit of distance. And then, taken by the wind, they're moving away and floating off. So as we sit and we look, there might be all different sorts of shapes. Might be big ones or small ones. We're just going to notice those thoughts, those clouds, as they come across the sky. And then just notice them as they leave again, as they move out of range of sight. Let's be kind to ourselves as we notice our thoughts. Not judge what's coming up for us, but just notice it. You might like to link this idea of the clouds, the thoughts as clouds, with your breath. So noticing the thought, and then as you exhale, just blowing the thought, the cloud, away. Just as you exhale normally, the cloud just responding to your breath and leaving, just moving away over the horizon or out of sight. You might like to imagine that the clouds are shifting away more and more. Perhaps they're coming less often or they're further away from you. Whatever those clouds are representing in your thoughts, you can come back to them after the meditation, but for this practice, they don't need to bother us. We can let them float off, float away for now. And let's allow those thoughts now to float all the way off and out of sight, so that eventually all that is above us is just a clear sky. If during the meditation you find, or when you find that thoughts come back to distract you, that's very normal. That's part of the meditation, is to notice them and then again let them go, let them float off. You might like to again come back to this image of the thoughts as clouds and letting them float off so that you are just sitting with a clear sky above you. If that's an image that works for you. In a moment, we're going to turn towards the second part of our meditation, the story that I'll be reading. As we begin, perhaps you might like to turn your hands palm upward in your lap or on your knees, or take some other physical sign that says, I'm listening. Perhaps saying to God in this moment, what would you have me hear today? What would you like me to notice? Or perhaps something more simple like, speak to me. I'm here. I'm going to invite you now to journey with me over big distances of time and space, to imagine ourselves around 2,000 years ago in the ancient Near East, in a small town. We're in a small crowd of people. You might like to imagine yourself as someone in the crowd or one of the particular characters in the story, or perhaps just as a fly on the wall noticing what's happening. I'm just going to read through this story once with quite a lot of silence, just reading a sentence or two at a time, occasionally offering some questions just to help us imagine what's happening around us and to enter into the story. There's no wrong way to do this, but let's use our imaginations. Feel free to be playful. Add your own color and detail. Put yourself right into the story. Imagine you're there as it's happening. So one day, an expert in religious law stood up to test Jesus by asking him this question: "Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus replied, "What does the law of Moses say? How do you read it?" The man answered him, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." What do you see around you in this moment? Right, Jesus told him, "Do this and you will live." The man wanted to justify his actions. So he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" What do you hear around you? Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along. But when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. What do you see? Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, 2 days' wages, telling him, "Take care of this man. If the bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here." Now, which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. What do you hear around you? The man replied, "The one who showed him mercy." Then Jesus said, "Yes, now go and do the same." What do you hear around you? How are people around you responding to this story and this interaction? A little bit of time has passed now. The crowd is maybe dispersed a little. And you see Jesus in a quiet moment by himself. And there's an opportunity to approach him, to respond, maybe to ask him a question or say something to him about this story or about this interaction. There's time and space, opportunity to sit with this kind man who welcomes people. Just to sit for a moment and speak together. If you like to, you can take the opportunity now to respond back to Jesus. We're going to take about a minute now to finish our conversation, to slowly come away from this time and place in history and come back to the here and now. Just taking our time. When we're ready, we'll move on to our sharing circle, the last part of our meditation. And we'll know we're ready when everyone is seated with their eyes open again. Just take your time coming back.
Thank you for joining today. There will be a new guided meditation available each week, so don't forget to subscribe to iTunes or sign up for our newsletter to get podcasts delivered to your inbox at www.shekinacommunity.com/podcast newsletter. Also, you can rate or review on iTunes or sign up as a patron at patreon.com/Shekina Meditation Podcast. Have a beautiful week. Many blessings to you.